So when we do not specify this, when we do not specify any kind of multiplicity, it simply says that there is one elevator bank and there is one elevator. Okay, so that's what the default specification of this association really means, right? However, if we provide, we could say like 1 to 5 and provide specific range, specific number of these objects. There could be 1, it could be 2, 3, 4, or 5, right? We can also specify that there could be 0 to 5 or to some number. But if you don't want to limit the upper limit, right, you can just specify the asterisk. And when the situation goes to 0 to any number, we simply reduce this we just reduce this to one single asterisk, right? So one single asterisk represents any number, which can be 0 or more, right? So technically, this is a 0 or more elevators that can be connected to the elevator bank. And so today, I mostly would like to focus basically on the design, like show you a few demonstrations of the demo code, which may give you some ideas how you can work on your own prototype for what you're trying to build to solve the overall challenge for this semester project. So right now, again, just to show you the most detailed kind of thing that I was thinking about right now. And let's go back to the code, right? So just as a reminder, basically this demo that we have the controller, we have the elevator bank, and we have the elevator. When I typically consider, when I look at the code, and if I see the controller among other classes, I typically take a look at the controller and say, okay, what's in this controller? So because the controller essentially tells you the story of what are the possibilities within this specific case that we're trying to go back to and try to add some code to it. So we have the window, we have the elevator bank, so that's what the controller knows. And this diagram basically shows us that the controller has access to these two objects. The controller doesn't specify who creates it, but its constructor is empty. It doesn't do anything at the construction time, but then it has the method to initialize the use case, and it clearly creates the elevator bank, and actually, for the sake of demonstration, populates a couple of elevators, again using the default constructors for the elevators. We have a method to return, like a simple getter method to return the window if we need to get access to the window. We also have a method to set the window, because apparently the initial constructor there doesn't take any parameters, so everything is constructed with null references, but we have a way to set the window. And it has some kind of demo code to move the elevator, and perhaps this is the area that we want to modify today and keep making some changes to that code. Right, so then we have this frame view, which is obscured by a lot of code generated by the actual graphical user interface designer. So it just makes sense perhaps at this point to just switch to the project. And I already loaded this project, and you can see that so far what I did was that I had this text area right here, and I had this button right here, so that at least we could demonstrate at some point the interaction between the controller window and some business objects, which were represented by elevator bank, array list. Array list is really just a collection helper class, right? And then this the list of the elevators. Okay, so good enough. We can now go and perhaps revisit the code for this button just to see what's going on. So here's, what is it trying to show me? View. Yeah, so this is the highlight of this button. So right now it's just kind of like trying to say move the elevator, and this is kind of silly because we probably want to do some, want to kind of move towards more realistic demo for this project. So if I run this project once again, just to demonstrate quickly what happens at runtime. This is the window, and when we move the elevator, it simply increments the floor for the elevator and changes the display in this area. So this is very primitive, and again, this was done just to demonstrate the behavior of the controller and its interaction between the window components and the rest of the business objects. So I think my task would be, since we had this this code that initially creates, again for the demonstration purposes, creates two elevators in the bank of elevators. I will, my initial demo will be that I would like to move those two elevators up and down. Okay, so for this, I could create a set of floors, but right now I will just try to do something essentially hard-coded directly in the elevator class right here. And in the elevator class, for now, I just privately, for the sake of debugging, I'll say private max floor, okay? And I'll say that the max floor will be 6. Maybe I have 6 floors, okay? And this will be an int, right? This will be an int. And if this is more or less of a constant type of thing, I will say that this is private and static and final, right? It doesn't have to change. Even for the, although this is just a demonstration, I still would like to, kind of maintain the status of my variables as this static and final. And since I'm not I have no intention of using this anywhere outside of this class, I will keep them, the two of these, minimum floor and maximum floor, as private variables, right? So if I want to move my elevators between the first and the 6th floor, okay, right? So this is just something that in the future, this will be controlled by the actual floor class, I would suspect, because floor will have a lot of responsibility to keep track of visitors on that floor, to essentially interact with elevators and buttons that exist on that floor. But for now, I just basically would like to animate some basic movement of these elevators. All right, so the elevator can move up, right, and it can move down. However, I can also add something that says, again, because this is only for experimentation, I will keep this private, and I will say private direction, right? Direction. And the direction I will also initialize to 0, and I will say that the direction 0 can be moving, actually let's do, 0 can be moving down, right? And direction 1 can be moving up, something like that. So because this will be just a very simple demonstration, I will have and I don't have any sort of scheduler that controls the direction of elevators and assigns specific requests to move to a certain floor. Right now, I will have the elevator itself to automatically change the direction. So ultimately, what I would like to do is to move up and move down to simply move, right? So instead of moving up or down, I will say move according to the direction, right? So instead of plus floor or minus floor, we're going to say floor equals floor plus direction, right? Direction. When I'm thinking in this looking at this formula, I begin to realize that perhaps it would be good to say down will be more like -1, right? To -1, and up will be just +1, something like that, right? So let's initialize it to 1, which means go up at the beginning. All right, so we say floor will be changed by each move right now for the sake of demonstration, right? And we'll say that we can say that if, right, we can just do some checking here. If floor equals max floor, right, or if we say that the floor, just for the sake of safety, is equal or greater the maximum floor. I'm sorry, yes, this is exactly, this goes like that, right? So if this is the floor is greater than the maximum floor, we can basically, what we can do is that we can essentially set floor equals max floor. Again, this is just a quick demonstration. It has not much meaning, and we will guarantee that the direction at this point changes to basically -1, right? And by the way, it is very difficult to keep track of and sometimes understand the meaning of -1 and 1. So I will actually add a couple more of these static final integers, and we'll say that this is direction up, right? And this will be direction up will be +1, and the direction down will be -1, right? And this way I can already initialize it with direction up, perhaps, right? I need to initialize it with something, the actual direction, right? And so this way I really don't have to do a lot of commenting, but I keep this in place, right? So now this will be so if we're on the max floor, we will switch over to the direction down. Instead of saying -1, I just find it to be I don't know what these windows appear there. All right, so the direction will be down. Otherwise, if the floor is less or equal to the minimum floor, right, we'll just brute force change the floor to be at the minimum floor level, like this. Okay, and we'll change the direction to be direction up, because from the lowest floor, And perhaps this may not be a very successful naming max and min. It could be like low and high or something for better readability, but at this point I'm not going to change it. And now I'm thinking that if I say floor greater, for the sake of simplicity, again, I would just say if it's greater, I will force it to back to the max floor, and if it's less, otherwise I may stuck in endless, some sort of endless loop, changing everything. So for now, we'll just keep it this way. All right. So the direction can be plus or minus 1, and we can move these elevators. So now I'm thinking as the controller creates 2 of these elevators, let's do the again because we can make some changes here. Let's make these public at this point. Public maximum floor, public minimum floor, right? And so this way, when we create our elevators, we can say that we can add the constructor here, right? We can add the constructor. I'll say constructors, and over here we can add public constructor, public constructor, which takes an integer floor to begin with, to say what floor you're located on. That's perhaps is a valid idea to provide the initial floor, right? And over here we can say then this floor equals the floor provided to the constructor. Okay, and so if I have this type of constructor, now when, again, for the demo purposes, when we initialize the case, the entire case inside the controller class, I can now say that let's create the 2 of these elevators, right? And the first elevator will take the elevator will take the put it on the highest floor to begin with, right? And so the first elevator, and the second one elevator will put it on the minimum floor, right? So we have these 2 things. The 2 elevators will be located on these floors, right? Okay. So now we can go back to go back to the idea that now we can call this move, and this move will essentially be updating the individual elevators. So let's take a look. First of all, let's save everything and let's go to our button, right? So when I press the button, I want to move all of these elevators.